Greetings from Florida! Florida, baby. The state that always makes it on the news, not for the best reason. But today, we have midterm elections coming up, and Florida is a big deal. We're voting for a senator, a governor. What else are we voting for? Local representatives, legislators, and amendments. Now, if you're like me, you have a few issues with voting. First of all, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, what do these positions actually do for us? Second of all, who are these people? And as a citizen that lives in Florida, you want to make sure that the issues that you care about are addressed and are solved. So what I plan to do today is give you a quick, unqualified guide to vote. No excuse at all. Not that either. Nope. I'm honestly doing this for myself, but if this can help you guys, awesome. I'm all for it. The first race I want to talk about is probably the most important. It's the governor race. The governor implements programs and policies adopted by the legislature, is the commander-in-chief of the state's military, and is the representative of the state of Florida. This is a big deal. Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum. You may have seen Andrew Gillum because he is the mayor of Tallahassee, and Ron DeSantis just resigned from the US Congress to run for governor. The beautiful thing about the internet is that if you type these candidates' names followed by a .com, it shows you an amazing website that they've created with their issues and everything they stand for. So that's just a tip for y'all.
Right.
Now, what I'm gonna do is just go through some basic issues so that you guys can have an idea of where these candidates stand. Let's start with education, which is pretty important. Andrew Gillum supports a $1 billion investment paid for by an increase in income tax and the legalization and taxation of marijuana. Now, marijuana is a hot topic because we voted in 2016 for marijuana to be legal for medical uses, but it's been slow stepping into society. Now, Ron DeSantis, who supports Rick Scott, wants to kind of continue Rick Scott's plan of cutting administrative costs and putting the savings into school choice programs and incentives to recruit and retain teachers. He wants to increase the cap of the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship, which parents with eligible income may be able to put their kids in private schools. Our next issue is guns, and this is a very delicate subject for our state, knowing we had 2 mass shootings. Something needs to be done. Both parties have agreed. Let's not forget Rick Scott did create a reform which includes increasing the age of purchasing a gun from 18 to 21, along with another measure that would arm school staff with proper training. Now, the controversy here is that Ron actually doesn't agree with that. He doesn't believe that it's gun regulation that needs to be worked on. He believes that it's social, it's mental issues, and he believes in programs to help those people out. On the other hand, Andrew Gillum is ready for an assault weapons ban and to keep pushing gun regulation. As far as the economy, Andrew Gillum champions a $15 minimum wage, greater access to healthcare and Medicaid, and more money for worker training and higher education. Ron DeSantis embraces a free trade market with lower taxes and a smaller government, like a true Republican. Now, they both have a lot more different issues. So one of the issues that really stood out for me in Andrew Gillum's website was the criminal justice reform. A recent study from the Crime and Justice Institute from Boston says there's currently 100,000 inmates in Florida. And per capita, the incarceration rate of our state is 20% higher than national average. It's tricky to say that some of these people shouldn't be in jail, but some of these people shouldn't be in jail. 2/3 of Florida prisoners are in jail for non-violent crimes, and after these crazy sentences, some of them have to wait more than 5 years to vote again or to get a proper job. So their integration back into society after they paid their dues and done their sentencing is really, really difficult. So what Andrew Gillum proposes is to have diversion programs that could help these people learn from their mistakes and move on with their lives. One of our close neighbors, Texas, actually had this same issue. And by implementing these diversion programs, they were able to low incarceration rates. I actually tweeted and called Ron DeSantis asking him what he thought about a criminal justice reform, but he didn't answer. Ron DeSantis also had an issue that really caught my eye on his website. It really impressed me of how much detail he had about protecting Florida's environment. Most of us have heard of this toxic tide that's been killing Florida wildlife and polluting our beaches. This is a tricky issue because supposedly there isn't a clear answer of who's responsible. A lot of people say that it's the citrus agriculture, it's the fertilizers, and most have agreed it's a climate change. Now, Ron DeSantis does not mention climate change on his website, but he does agree that we have a big problem. He talks about completing the suite of the Everglades Restoration Program, which the federal government actually promised to fund, but where's the money? So he says that because he's endorsed by our President Trump, he's the candidate that would get the job done. He also agrees we need to prevent oil drilling off of our coasts and cleaning and restoring our beaches. Andrew Gillum also agrees that there are environmental issues, but on his website you find more about incentives for renewable energy, keeping corporate polluters from our air, and supports causes for global warming. Our next opponents you have for sure seen before. So what exactly does a senator do? They are part of the legislative branch of the government that creates laws. They're supposed to represent the people living in their state, and part of their job is to write and vote on laws called bills. Now, Bill Nelson, right here, currently sits in that position and wants to get reelected. And we know Rick Scott because he is Florida's current governor. Now, Bill Nelson has been a U.S. Senator since the year 2000. But before that, he was also elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1978. This guy has been around forever. And one of the coolest things that Bill Nelson has done in 1986 was the first member of the House to travel into space. That's really cool. Now, to be fair, let's say something cool about Rick Scott. He founded the world's largest healthcare company. They have many issues, but out of those, the ones that outstand are healthcare and education. Bill Nelson opposes Medicare and Medicaid cuts and supports funding for teacher development and STEM programs. He's an avid supporter of gun control, extremely against offshore drilling. Now, we have to say that Rick Scott is a full-on businessman. He did end up passing a gun bill after the incident occurred, and he did grow Florida's employment to 20%. I must say that I'm not the biggest Rick Scott fan because he cut back on the film incentives. And I need to talk about this because I need you guys to understand how incredibly stupid this was. All productions that have used this film incentive in Florida have created jobs and tourist spending. For example, Bloodline, who was pushed out, combined film production and tourist spending of $95.4 million. The creation of 1,700 jobs and an economic output of $158 million. Why on earth would you kick them out? They even casted me for a scene. Because of that, most productions have now gone to Atlanta. And let me tell you guys a little secret. Overall, the film industry produced a $9 billion economic impact and generated 100,000 jobs. It's not about the right or left. It's about getting things done. Running for Florida Agriculture Commissioner, Matt Caldwell versus Nikki Fry. What does the Agriculture Commissioner do? They are members of the Florida Cabinet, supervise the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, regulates and promotes agriculture industry and consumer protection. Matt Caldwell was elected in the House of Representatives in 2012 and chaired the committee that oversaw natural resources, transportation and infrastructure, and government operations such as pensions and elections. True to his party, he is a Second Amendment protector. He also voted against the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Safety Act. He doesn't believe that gun control is the issue. Now, Nikki Fried is a Democrat. She is a Fort Lauderdale-based attorney and medical marijuana lobbyist. Told you guys marijuana would come up again. She wants more aggressive investigation of fraud, and she wants to increase the focus on the Consumer Services Division. It's not about the right or left. It's about getting things done. Next up, we have the Attorney General race. The Attorney General heads the state's Legal Affairs Department and is also part of the cabinet, just like the Commissioner of Agriculture that we just mentioned, Governor, and the CFO. We have two candidates, Ashley Moody and Sean Shaw. Ashley Moody is actually the Assistant U.S. Attorney right now. Her main issues: boosting law enforcement, taking on activist judges, and protecting religious freedoms. One of the other issues that I found is that she is pro-life. Sean Shaw was elected to the House of Representatives in 2016. He is an insurance consumer advocate and he's an attorney. Some of his issues are gun safety reforms, public corruption, defending civil and equal rights, and speaking of abortion, he is pro-choice. Last but not least, in the cabinet, we have the CFO race. The Florida Chief Financial Officer. What do? They oversee the Florida Department of Finances, a conglomeration of state agencies, including Departments of Insurance, Treasury, State Fire Marshal, and Banking and Finance. The current office holder is Jimmy Patronis, and his opponent is Democratic challenger Jeremy Ring. Patronis was a member of the House of Representatives, and Ring is a former member of the state Senate. Ring actually worked in John Kerry's campaign. You remember John Kerry? But one of his greatest achievements to date is actually related to me. He and his friends built Yahoo and made it into $1 million company. For Patroni, the focus is insurance fraud. During his tenure, he actually prosecuted 767 people doing insurance fraud. So looking ahead, he is ready to alert people about new scams. Both of them also mentioned cryptocurrency, which is a real thing in our society. They both agreed on having some sort of cryptocurrency chief to oversee potential illegitimate crypto schemes in our state. They both have been pretty successful at what they've done.